Jidenna woke up with a smile, eager to start his day. Though he battled leukemia, he was determined to live his life to the fullest, not allowing his illness to dampen his bright spirit. He got dressed and headed downstairs, where his loving father had prepared his medications and a nourishing breakfast. "Morning, Dad," Jidenna said. "Morning, son. Ready for another great day?" his dad replied, ruffling Jidenna's hair. Even after losing his beloved wife years ago, Jidenna's father stayed strong for his son. At school, Jidenna greeted his classmates cheerfully. He especially looked out for Kamsi, a quiet girl who kept to herself. Though they had never spoken, Jidenna felt drawn to her mysterious loner personality. The teacher announced, "We leave first thing tomorrow morning for our week-long excursion to Dele's farm. Don't forget to pack clothes, toiletries, medications." Jidenna had anticipated this trip for months. A whole week immersed in nature's beauty sounded like heaven. Walking over to Kamsi's desk during break time, he finally worked up the nerve to talk to her. "Hi Kamsi, I'm Jidenna. Are you excited for the farm trip?" Looking up timidly, Kamsi replied, "I guess so. I've never really been out of the city before." "You'll love it, I just know it. We're going to have the best week ever," Jidenna said. Kamsi couldn't help but smile at his enthusiasm. No one had ever approached her so openly before. The next morning, the students loaded onto buses, abuzz with excitement. Jidenna made sure to sit next to Kamsi, chatting with her merrily. He learned that she had lost her father at a young age too. By being vulnerable about his own story, he helped Kamsi open up for the first time. Arriving at the lush farm, the students unloaded their bags into cozy cabins, which they would share for the week. Jidenna was thrilled to be bunking with his new friend Kamsi. That first evening, they stayed up late talking by flashlight, feeling less and less like strangers. The next few days were packed with adventures, feeding baby goats, collecting fresh eggs, riding horses through the meadows. Jidenna made every moment count, despite his occasional weariness from leukemia treatments. Seeing the wonder in Kamsi's eyes as she experienced these joys for the first time gave him an extra burst of energy. At night, they would fall asleep recounting the day's events to each other. On the third day, Jidenna worked up the courage to hold Kamsi's hand as they hiked through the woods. Though he didn't know what the future held with his prognosis, he wanted to embrace his feelings for her. That evening at the bonfire sing-along, they slow danced under the stars, falling into their first tender kiss. "Kamsi, you make me so incredibly happy. I know we just met, but this feels so right," Jidenna confessed. "I feel the same way. You've brought so much joy and light into my life already," Kamsi replied. They cuddled close as flames crackled before them. For the first time, the world felt full of hope. The blissful week was winding down. On the last morning, Jidenna and Kamsi snuck off just before dawn to watch the sunrise from a hilltop meadow. As gold light flooded across the landscape, he got down on one knee. "My sweet Kamsi, I know our time could be cut short, but I want to spend every moment I have left with you by my side. Will you marry me?" Tears spilled down Kamsi's smiling cheeks. "Yes, 1,000,000 times yes." They kissed passionately as the sky glowed crimson. Their spontaneity felt natural. When you find the love of your life, you hold on with both hands, no matter the circumstance. Hand in hand, they started the hike back, just as morning farm tasks were beginning. But suddenly, Jidenna collapsed onto the grass, overcome by tremors and fatigue. Kamsi screamed for help. Farm workers came running, quickly realizing Jidenna urgently needed hospital care. They raced back towards the city in the medical emergency van as Kamsi cradled her fiancé's limp body. "Stay with me, my love. We're going to make it through this," she wept. But Jidenna had already slipped out of consciousness. At the hospital, a merciless flurry of tests, scans and treatments ensued, while Kamsi waited anxiously for news in the sterile hallway. Jidenna's father soon arrived, embracing Kamsi as they hoped against all odds. Finally, the doctor came with dark eyes that foreshadowed her words. "I'm so very sorry. The leukemia has progressed to a critical point where we've exhausted all options." Kamsi's mind spun in disbelief. Just hours ago, blissful eternity stretched before them. How could their forever end so abruptly? She rushed into Jidenna's room, where monitors beeped in a grim countdown. Sitting gently on his hospital bed, she intertwined their fingers, still adorned by her new engagement ring, and cradled his head against her chest. "My darling, can you hear me?" she whispered through sobs. "I'm right here with you." Jidenna's eyelashes fluttered slightly as he squeezed her hand with fading strength. Drawing on his last reserves, he gazed up at his true love through vision that had already started fading to white. "Kamzi, this isn't the end for us. It's just the beginning of our eternal bond." He spoke in fragmented breaths. "I'll be watching over you always, so you're never alone." "I believe that with all my heart," Kamzi replied, tears flowing freely. "I'll carry you with me forever, my one true soulmate." Jidenna's father wept inconsolably over his son's bedside. The three held hands, filled simultaneously with crushing grief and profound gratitude for this extraordinary young man who brought such meaning to their lives. As the last beep sounded on the monitor, Jidenna gazed into Kamzi's eyes with joyful acceptance. They had condensed a lifetime of love into a few miraculous days. "See you soon, my darling girl, in our next beautiful chapter," he whispered with his last breath. Kamzi clung to him, wailing. Though their time was cruelly cut short in this world, their spirits had united for eternity. Jidenna's unquenchable light would go on shining forever in her heart. The ensuing days passed as if in a nightmare. Kamzi stayed steadfast beside her fiancé's father, the two united in bottomless grief. At school, tears flowed non-stop as students and teachers honored Jidenna's magnificent spirit. The principal announced a scholarship fund in his name to support kids battling serious illness. Jidenna embodied courage, selflessness, and unwavering optimism. His tearful father eulogized at the packed memorial service. "My son cherished every moment and brought joy to everyone he encountered, even in his darkest hours." Kamzi summoned her strength to stand before the weeping crowd. "Jidenna wasn't just the love of my life. In his last days, he gave my lonely heart a lifetime of purpose. I'll honor him by embracing every moment and carrying on his legacy of boundless love. His radiant soul will live on through all that knew him." At the cemetery, as Jidenna's casket was lowered, Kamzi cradled a bouquet of ruby-red roses. She would return often to this quiet sanctuary where her fiancé's ashes were interred, to read beside the engraved memorial stone, catch him up about her days, and reflect on their magical story, however brief. Kamzi found comfort in helping new friends at a children's cancer charity. Like Jidenna, these kids filled every moment with gusto despite their prognosis. 6 months after that fateful day, she excitedly told her late fiancé the news as she sat crisscrossed by his grave. She had been accepted to nursing school, inspired to care for young cancer patients just like him. Though darkness crept in during her grief's deepest nights, Kamzi would gaze up at the glittering heavens. There twinkled her Jidenna's spirit, her guardian angel, keeping watch through time and space, enveloping her eternally in unconditional love.